Wild stories of pizza deliverers. Pizza delivery men, what's the strangest thing you've ever seen while delivering pizzas? One Saturday night, I was delivering pizzas to an apartment building. I went into the elevator and there was a dude dressed like a pimp trying to buy back the pizza I was supposed to deliver. He didn't even ask what it was with or what size it was. He just pulled out a $100 bill and said, "I'm buying it for $100. I politely declined, after which he pulled out another $100 bill and offered me $200. I told him I could get fired. This was hard to refuse. Here's where the fun begins. I walk up to the door of the guy I was supposed to deliver the pizza to. He opens the door and he too looks like a pimp, wearing this huge colorful jacket, grabs the pizza, gives me $100, and closes the door. The pizza cost about $35, $65 tip. Bottom line, got the biggest tip of my life from a dude who was dressed like a pimp just seconds after turning down the biggest bribe of my life from another dude who was dressed like a pimp. Buddy's pimps were clearly testing the loyalty of local pizza joints. I think the elevator pimp wanted to buy a pizza to pretend to be the second pimp's delivery guy. When the second pimp opens the door, the first pimp shoots the second pimp. And by your integrity, you saved the pimp's life. At least that's what I would tell my grandchildren. One dude opened the apartment door completely naked. I was stunned, but what followed made me wonder if he was some kind of fucking magician. He reached behind his back and pulled out his wallet. The only reasonable explanation I found for myself was that he jammed the wallet between his buns. I have to say, that's a pretty powerful move. One time I was delivering a pizza in a pretty rough neighborhood. The door was opened by 3 Latinos, and when one of them stepped away for the money, I noticed huge piles of money, shitloads of meth and weed that could have killed Snoop Dogg and about 20 guns. I was really scared. He tipped me $20 in cash and told me not to tell anyone. I hope they don't sit on Reddit. Hey, you just snitched on me. You're screwed. I once had a dude open my door with a snake on his shoulders. Not a little snake or a snail, but a royal python. It must have been about 2 feet long. When he closed the door, I heard him say to someone like, "I didn't react at all, LOL." He sounded so disappointed. Just the other day, there was a delivery where I was met by 2 guys, looks 25 years old, on the roof of a house in just their underpants. They were clearly thrilled with the pizza I delivered. Did you throw the pizza upstairs like Walter White? One kid ordered a big pepperoni pizza. When I got home, he wasn't there, so I called him over. He said he was shitting in the bathroom, so I had to wait 18 minutes for payment. You should have charged him, like, a couple of bucks for the wait. I work at DoorDash and Grubhub deliveries, sometimes delivering pizza. One time, I got an order on both apps at the same time, with the same content, from the same restaurant. Both customers' names were James, and the delivery had to go to the same hotel. When I knocked on the door, there were 2 guys who asked me if I was DoorDash or Grubhub. I told them I had both of their reservations. They started laughing really hard. When I asked what was so funny, they told me that they bet whose order they would bring in first. They thought there would be 2 different deliveries and never would have thought that one person would use both apps. I laughed too and asked which one was James. They said their names were both James. I'm still wondering what other cool things these 2 guys are trying to come up with. When I arrived, there were 3 dudes waiting for me in their underwear. When I gave the pizza, the other dudes came out of there in their underwear and they were wearing cowboy hats and Native American hats. It was some kind of Halloween party or something. I had to pull a tip out of the man's bra. It was funny as hell, but as I walked out of the building, I had to wonder for a second what the fuck was going on here. There was one order from a young couple. I arrived pretty early and probably interfered with their having sex. The drunk dude had no idea he was wearing his girlfriend's skirt. Nothing out of the ordinary, but it was very hard not to laugh. I arrived with my order at the place, and as I stood on the doorstep waiting for the guy to pay, I heard moans and wheezing coming from the house. The dude kept looking back into the living room and laughing. After he paid and handed me the cash, he said, "Fuck man, you gotta see this." He took a step back and I walked into the living room, where there were about 5 other dudes watching the guy fuck a 300-pound broad's belly fold on the big screen TV. This must be my dream pizza delivery job. All in all, I worked as a food delivery man for 2 years, making just over 3,500 deliveries, and unfortunately, I haven't seen a single weird situation, even something as trivial as a naked person. Maybe you just have high criteria for what you think is weird. Yeah, I guess after the 69th delivery to a swingers party, it doesn't seem so unusual anymore. Back in my college days delivering pizzas, I had an order to the local county jail. Some officer was taking someone to jail. This guy, who was led into the jail with handcuffs on his back, escaped from the officer, and when I went in, he bumped into me. I'm pretty sure this guy was under the meth. The officer got us both on the ground and twisted him up. I was covered in pizza sauce. The officers on that shift took the pizza and each gave me $20. I reported it to my manager. We made a new pizza and I brought it back for them. The cops were grateful and tipped me more. For one delivery, I raised about $400. I would like to add that every time they ordered a pizza from us, they always asked that it be delivered by a responsible guy, and they always tipped me well. Good times. I thought it would turn into a Spider-Man situation where you let him get away and then he kills your uncle. One time I was delivering a pizza late at night. The person who called told me that the customer, let's call him Mark, was an old man and it might take a while for him to get to the door. I arrived at the house, all the lights were off, and there was no car in the parking lot. No one answered. I knock on the door, no one answered. I call on my cell phone, silence. I call again, still nothing. At that point, I had been waiting for that man for about 15 minutes. Just as I started walking back to the car, I heard the front door open, so I walked back in. The lights weren't on either, so all I could see was a young girl's head peeking out from behind the door. She refused to open the door fully to get the pizza. After which I heard another girl behind her who said, "Who cares if he sees it? Open the door." She opened it a little wider so she could sign the receipt. She couldn't see anything, so I offered to turn on the flashlight on my phone so she could sign. That's when I realized both girls were naked. Since I'm a good worker, I looked away as she signed, then headed for my car. As I was leaving, one of them shouted out to me, "Have a nice evening, Mark already has one." And I laughed as I had already completely forgotten that this was an old man's house. Mark couldn't get to the door because he was tied up. Delivering the order to the hotel. The dude passed out 3 times during our 10-minute meeting. It looked like he was narcoleptic, but it still scared the shit out of me. The narcoleptic is here. He probably had a cataplexy attack. We don't lose consciousness. We are still conscious, but we lose control of our muscles, so it looks like we lost consciousness. In some isolated cases, it may look like a seizure because we are trying to move to induce spasms. It happens because of emotion, so he was probably overexcited or something. He was very excited about the pizza. One of my neighbors killed a pizza delivery guy. The guy worked as a delivery guy while he was in college. The neighbor got a life sentence for premeditated murder. They just explicitly said the delivery would be within 30 minutes or sooner. As the pundits say, forgiveness is a gift from God, but never pay full price for a late pizza. Lady and the dogs. Right before the place closed, we received a strange order for 2 pieces of chocolate cake and 2 cans of whipped cream. Whipped cream was not on the menu, so the customer prepaid and made arrangements with management. Because of this, she considered herself a VIP. She was fat as hell, had 3 dogs, behaved rudely, and never tipped. It was very cold that night. It was a bad shift, and of course I was called to the trailer park. I decided that today was the day I would get my revenge on her. I cracked open the cream jars and crushed her cakes. I gave her the order and told her to stop ordering 5 minutes before closing time. By the time I got back to the establishment, she had already had time to complain. My boss refused to give me my paycheck until I took her the normal cans. And that's where the fun begins. When I returned, her dress was pulled up. I noticed the wet, smeared cream all over her crotch, staining her black leggings. Looking down, I saw one of the dogs who had cream dripping down his chin all over his face. When I explained to my supervisor that she was probably guilty of animal cruelty, he finally blacklisted her. When I read Lady and the Dogs, I rejoiced. Yay, finally, something interesting and not weird sex-related bullshit. It ended up being weird sex-related bullshit. I just threw up. A coworker of mine from a previous job delivered pizzas when he was in college. He once told me that he was pulling up to a place. A group of high school students ran across the street with a finish line as soon as he stopped. They ordered pizza at the same time as Pizza Hut and Domino's. I don't remember where exactly he worked, but he won the race. Oh, I want to try to do that now. I was delivering pizza to a young girl who was home alone, and as soon as she opened the door, her dog immediately ran away. I gave her the pizza, got in the car, found the dog, and returned it. She didn't leave me a tip, so on the way back to the restaurant, I was upset. A few hours later, her mother called the establishment and asked for me. She thanked me and explained that they had set aside money for a tip, but her daughter was so upset about the dog that she forgot to give it to me. I worked at that pizza place for over 2 more years while I was in college. After that incident, they ordered 2 large pepperoni pizzas every week and asked me to deliver them. They always tipped me at least $25. I am so happy that the ending turned out to be happier than the beginning, as it may have initially seemed. Good thing you turned out to be a man and found her dog. Those assholes can run far away and have a good hiding place. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments below the video, the food deliverers can tell us what the weirdest things you've seen when you've delivered food. And don't forget to check out our other episodes. That's it. Bye-bye.